Court will come to order. It is Tuesday, June the 30th, 2026. It's 11 o'clock in the morning, and the Kerr County Court is in session for a special meeting. And with that, I want to remind everyone to turn off your cell phones if you've got them. We don't want them to interrupt the proceedings. And with that, we'll move on to our consideration agenda. And item 1.1 is consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve a land use agreement with the Texas Department of Emergency Management to use the property at the Hill Country Youth Event Center. Commissioner Jones, you want to introduce this?
Sure. I have talked to Tatum several times. You know, back when from the beginning of the 4th, the whole objective was to try to get all of this operation for debris removal, task removal, all that stuff onto public property in county land. And Commissioner Harris, myself, and others spent a lot of time, many hours trying to find that. We didn't have it. The school district for Center Point was gracious in allowing us to go down there, but I think they're ready to move over to county property.
And this is the land use agreement.
It is. So it'll be a land use agreement. We have, I think, Brandy Ashby here. Do you want to speak to that a little bit? Is that okay, Judge?
Absolutely.
And I apologize. So my name is Brandy Ashby. I'm the Tatum Region 6 Assistant Chief for this area. So this is part of my area of responsibility. I got here in September, so unfortunately got here a little bit after everything started, but very happy to be here and happy to be able to assist in any way we can. As far as the LUA, what information, is there specific information you'd like?
Yeah, we've got all that, I believe, over to the attorneys. And
Okay, perfect.
I think they're working on that. I believe, my understanding yesterday, we had a joint phone call with the judge, myself, you, Country, and Zach Hood, other
Yes.
representatives from Tatum, and they were out looking at the site. They're having to go through the same process, I guess, that you normally would, where you're going in and
We'll reach out to TCQ, get a temporary debris site approval. We'll go through all of the regulations that are required by state law.
right. And so there's different things that I'm sure the court's going to need to know. Your entrance, exit, how y'all intend to handle that?
You're saying ingress
Ingress
and
and
egress?
egress,
Yes, sir.
yes.
Okay, sorry, I apologize.
I'm sorry, I was speaking like a normal person.
No, I
Entrance and
just wanted to
exit.
make sure I was understanding. So yes, sir, I believe it's called Gate 5.
Correct.
There's a gate on the backside of the grassy area to the side of the youth event center. We actually, and I have a mock-up. I didn't have a chance to print it out. They literally just texted over to me. I'll be more than happy to share my cell phone with y'all so you can look at it. Don't know exactly how that.
Yeah, I don't know, do we need to do that?
Okay.
Or y'all just want to
I
send
can
it
I
to
can
us?
describe it though. How about that?
Sure.
So basically, come in. The entrance point would be at the gate 5. They would come around the rodeo arena. I guess I'm
Yeah.
not sure what to
The
call
outdoor
that.
arena.
Is that okay? They would come around. Any type of woody debris, and there's not a lot left, but as we're finding those massive root balls that are strainers or hazards to the waterways, we are trying to remove those. Anything that's part of the ecosystem, we're leaving in place per Texas Parks and Wildlife regulation, so that it's hard for me to tell you if we have some or don't, because we show each individual item that we find to TPWD and allow them the opportunity to make the call on whether or not we're going to remove it. We don't plan on there being a lot of vegetative debris though. Then we'll have what we call dry, anything that came off the bank that was not waterlogged. And then we'll have a space, and that's kind of, I'm going to say, along the fence that's adjacent to the parking lot. We're not planning on being on the other side on the asphalt at all, just on the grassy area. And then when you go a little bit further, we've got the easements in mind for the neighborhood in the back, and then the roadway, the highway along the front. We would keep off the road and off that neighborhood. Then the wet area where the wet debris is allowed to dry prior to, and each one of these stations prior to anything being processed. Everything gets a human remains dog ran through significantly. And so the wet debris is probably the hardest and the longest because we have to let it dry and then flip it and let it dry and flip it. That's kind of the most time consuming piece for us. But what we're trying to do on some of the waterways is, when they're, the water used to be 10 feet deep and now the water's ankle deep, there's a good possibility there could be something underneath that, whether it be hazardous or otherwise. And so that's kind of the material that's being removed at this time.
Okay.
Oh, and I apologize. And then they'll continue out that same gate they came into. So basically that one gate will be the ingress and the egress for the facility.
It's just a big loop
Big loop.
around the outdoor arena,
Yes, sir.
and the vegetative stuff is left off on the front side?
I'm gonna say between the arena and the
Park.
fence, there will be a driveway and it'll
Okay.
be on the side.
And then the gravel and stuff will be back behind that?
Yes, sir, between the road and the arena, there will be pads.
Okay.
Okay.
I've reviewed the land use agreement as well, and so it needs the attachments to show what part of the property they'll be using, and if that comes in,
Right.
and I'm not here, know that I've reviewed it and it's ready to go, except for the attachments and the enter Kerr County.
Okay.
So all the truck traffic, it's gonna be coming down Riverside Drive to get in there?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is that a city road or county maintained road?
County.
The whole thing, Riverside Drive?
Yes, because,
I know it's
yeah,
your precinct, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
yeah, you have memorized all your roads yet?
No, I know where it is, I know all the roads, but I'm not sure who
It probably
maintains
is
it.
because we,
I think
we,
I
it's
don't know
city
if where it
maintained
adjoins,
road.
where it joins,
And, you know,
well, we
carved it
removed
out.
ourselves from the
that's
ETG,
right, but that road, I
ETJ,
think is within
and
the
so
ETJ.
that should be county road.
And for years.
See
when
that?
The
they
whole thing
planned on
all the way up to
closing it,
534 is
they'd
not.
come to the court and ask for permission to close it in any of their planning for
say,
years.
say what? Who does?
For years, when the Road and Bridges planned on closing it for events or whatever
Okay.
is necessary, they always come to the court and ask for permission to close it temporarily.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I think since we're out of the ETJ, it's probably definitely ours now.
If
I don't think
that
the
was
city has-
part of the carve out, but I suspect going up to 534, that's Kerrville, because they maintain the road that goes down to the river.
On our side or on the other side?
On the north side. You know, there's a little road that goes down, there's when we put in the veterans pathway,
Yeah?
when you take that pathway down, there's actually a little maintenance road that goes down
Right.
to the lower bridge, that's what I'm saying, that
Right.
Kerrville, that's a Kerrville city maintained road. Okay, and I
Okay.
just suspect that Riverside Drive, or at least part of it, maybe we have excluded some of it from the ETJ, but it's gonna be within the city limits. Anyway, so we may or may not need to run this past them.
I'm not sure we need permission to use
I
the
don't
road.
think we need
Well,
permission
no.
from the city for much of anything.
Just,
I don't know why we're going down.
that truck traffic kind of
Track.
tears up roads, it certainly was hard
And I-
on Stone Leap.
I'm just trying to understand why the move? Being one of the guys that initially recommended this
Mhm.
spot a long time ago to Ken Bell, and Ken got together all the different places, and this is one, and it was a good deal, but it was for a good purpose, right? To use that lot.
You're talking about the Center Point ISD.
I'm talking about Center Point
Okay.
Yeah.
lot.
At the time.
And I've watched and been a part of this process for well over a year, right? And seeing how much has gone in there and how much has gone out, what y'all have done. I've spoken to the contractors in person there, so I know the site pretty well. But why move? And what is the volume or acreage you want to use at our Hill Country Youth Event Center? I'm just trying to understand
Mhm.
the why behind all this.
I'm gonna ask if somebody has the exact acreage, and I apologize, I do not have that. So the number one reason is obviously we've ramped down significantly since the onset. I know I went and toured the Center Point site, and, you know, the explanation on the mounds that were out there is, I mean, I got to see some drone footage of when it was in its height.
Yeah, it's
And
huge.
it was substantial. So at this point, we've downsized significantly. The only operations we have ongoing are at Ingram, Lake Nimitz, and then a couple of isolated points in the county and the city. Very small. The footprint of it, and then the other piece is it's all very close to this area. None of it's, Ingram is probably the furthest. I think we have some work being done at River Inn area is probably the furthest. And obviously that's on the opposite side
way out,
of the
yeah.
area. Just trying to kind of consolidate some of the things we were doing and bring it into a smaller footprint. Just trying to downsize.
Yeah, I mean, eventually it would happen. We all kind of expected that we've moved almost 2 million cubic yards. And I would bet probably half of it went to the Center Point 100 acres.
No doubt.
Just from watching the Comfort site, which I know well, our site there in Center Point, and then the site out west. I understand we need to downsize, and we've gone through a lot of it, and there's still some more sorting and drying. Do you know the heavy equipment that'll be there on site to facilitate this operation? Chippers,
So what
front-end loaders.
equipment? Yes, sir. So there will be, there's definitely one, words are escaping me. Have mercy. Excavate? No. Yes, the large crane thing, excavator thing.
that's an excavator, right?
Okay,
A
and
large
I
excavator, the
apologize. The-
pull with the grapple hook on it?
The one that's out at Center Point should be relocating, only because that's the mechanism for flipping the wet stuff, and when it's wet, it's so much heavier than
I would agree.
normal debris, and so it just takes a large piece of equipment. There will be a chipper for the small amount of veg, front end loaders. And I apologize, I don't have an accurate list. I can ask to see exactly.
If it's the same footprint of equipment that's there, I know what it is.
It's the same, but a condensed version.
Okay, so it is being scaled down, and that's part of the reason for the move. You don't need the 100 acres of Center Point?
Yes, sir. Well, that, and what we're hoping is that we'll be able to get the school back to a semblance of normal by the time school starts back again.
Sure.
You know, we're wanting to, I'm sorry, was somebody?
No, we have to ask, because they can know the information, we can't, so it's
No, I
sometimes
understand. I
discovery
thought somebody
learning
was
and-
asking another question. I
court.
apologize. Yes, sir, and that's kind of the thing, you know, after walking the site, you know, I can definitely see where we've, you know, our presence there has been an impact on school's operation, and, you know, we definitely want to get them back to, you know, it's what we always say, the new normal, right? Nothing's ever going to be back to the old normal, but whatever we can get, you know, get the kids to where they're not seeing the remnants of the flood anymore.
Well, that makes sense.
I remember early on, first couple of days, when we started talking about debris removal and everything, and it was obvious that y'all wanted to go to public land. We started reaching out. And I
Yes.
made the call to a couple of school board members at Center Point, and, you know, of course, everybody's overwhelmed. There's anything we can do, and they moved on it real quick, and we put it there. But now they're wanting to get back to normal before school starts, and it's understandable. It wasn't an option for us at the event center, because if you remember all the helicopters and everything else that was coming in there. And so that wouldn't have been an option. So, moving forward, I think it's a good idea.
I guess here's my concerns. Number one, I think the Center Point ISD perhaps is willing to let them to continue if it's not too awful much longer. But my real concern is you've got a major site reclamation project on your hands on that 120 acres owned
Yes,
by
sir.
the ISD. I mean, as I understand it, they dug a bunch of 4-foot deep pits and lined them and then put dirt back on top. You know, I guess that was to contain any kind of hazardous leak off and so
Anything
forth.
wet, you don't want
And
the
then
runoff
there's
to
tons
contaminate.
of rock.
Yeah.
I mean, literally tons of rock that've been brought in because, you know, the trucks were sinking in and, you know, to ensure that they're gonna be able to get around the site to do what they needed to do. So my concern is, are we gonna have another major reclamation project? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna be tearing up the youth event center? Because I hate to see that happen again.
Yes, sir, and I can appreciate that question. I think that the difference is the scale of what we're looking at. You know, the crazy amount of debris that was necessary early on. You know, we needed the 100+ acres that, you know, Centerpoint ISD so graciously offered up to us. And reclamation-wise, that is part of the contract with the people we contract with, is that they'll put it back to its original condition.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely a big piece of what's
Okay.
gonna happen there. And that kind of leans us into to get it back, it would behoove us to start it sooner rather than later.
So now you raise that issue about it's the contractor's obligation. Is that part of what you've already paid them, or is that they're just gonna come and charge the state?
No,
you know,
that's-
all the additional cost of reclamation is on top of whatever you've already paid them?
That's part of the contract.
So they're obligated to do that without any further payment?
And I apologize, I can't speak on payment.
Yeah.
I just understand contract,
Well,
like what the
I'm just looking at the
contract
cost, you
says.
know, because I'm a taxpayer.
Yes,
both
sir.
In Centerpoint with the
I gotta say,
ISD
I'm confused at your
and the
question,
state.
though. What they're saying is they're gonna go back in and put the land back, restore it to its
Yeah, no,
original
right. But
But
condition.
are we gonna have to do that in 2 locations, and what's that gonna cost
Yes.
taxpayers?
It won't cost taxpayers anything. That's part of their contract, is that they go in and.
Well, that's what I'm trying to clarify,
Right,
that it won't.
right. Is that correct? Y'all are gonna go back and put the land back?
So
to
yes,
The
sir.
contractor
But,
will.
and I apologize, I can't answer on money, and I can get you the information if you need it, but, basically, what we do is we write contracts ahead of time, right? And so the contracts with these, folks, it delineates basically start to finish. If there are any scope modifications, we do those as it's going, like if we need to do something more extra. But typically, when we start something, we know what the finish line's gonna look like, and that's all part of that same contract. I don't know, did that answer? I apologize, I'm not sure.
No, that's good.
Well,
Okay,
yeah, I don't know.
I guess from my perspective,
Devil's in the details.
and probably Commissioner Pace's as well, why are we starting over again in a new place to contain and do reclamation? Because this was new to us, and that's part of the drama of being on Open Meetings Act, right? I can't discuss all this, but you already got one site in action. If you're gonna downscale it a lot to try to get out of the site, I think you could do that on a large site. And I don't know if the issue was how much they're asking for rent in the future,
no, sir.
or the site in particular. I'm just trying to understand, you know, what negotiations have gone on already that I was unaware of.
So we
And
did
that's
have,
for good reason. I get the law.
and I'm assuming I can speak, I mean, we
You can
discussed,
say anything.
okay, I
We
apologize.
can't, but you can.
Okay, so yes, sir, we met with Centerpoint ISD. They had a lot of concerns about what they feel are damages to their property. And so then to keep from continuing, I understand the need to get the children back to normal. And so that's kind of what I felt was the overarching, you know, significance yesterday.
Sure.
When we were talking, you know, the discussion on, you know, the citizens in the area and just what they're seeing and, you know, having to endure, you know, and just the continual bringing of the materials and the, you know, all of the things. They told me about dust and things like that were troubling when and football season's about to start. I'm from a big football area. I understand the importance of football season. And so, what can we do to lessen the impact on a local community? And so that honestly is at the core of everything we're trying to accomplish.
And that's logic, and I get it.
And I
so-
was there yesterday when you met with the Centerpoint ISD, and I really appreciate Tatum doing that and listening, hearing them out. You know, again, I don't really want to speak on their behalf because we've got a bunch of representatives here if they want to say anything. But as I understand it, they're willing to allow it to go forward. You know, they just want the costs that they've incurred. You know, they would like some compensation and adjustments to the contract going forward, but they're also happy if you want to move it. So my concern, if you want to move it to the Youth Event Center, is, you know, what kind of a mess are we going to create there? Because it was a major problem on their property. And again, just hoping that there won't be additional costs because of the need to move. I suspect there would be somehow, but anyway.
Yes, sir, I completely understand, and obviously, the mess, I mean, the mess that it created, especially early on,
Yeah.
was significant,
Right.
because of the scope of
Sure.
what we were dealing with. Honestly, there was a lot of debris, there was a lot of, and I know early on, there was a lot of vegetative debris.
Oh,
It was crazy, the amount
Yeah.
of trees that got washed out.
Huge clouds of dust blowing over.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's my
At least
concern.
now it's not like that. It's better.
It's
But
better.
again, I
It's
think
better, but it's
you
not.
could continue or you can leave. I don't think they care. Am I correct? Okay. So
What our concerns are.
Excuse me.
You'll have to get up.
You have to go to the podium.
tell everybody
Should we
who
get
you
a
are.
motion and a second on this before we?
Yeah, and hold up a second. Let's go ahead and get a motion in a second, because we're discussing this without a motion and a second on the floor.
I'll make a motion to approve the action to, approve the land use agreement.
Okay,
with
so
Tatum.
that's the motion,
Second.
and you got a second? Now we're legal, okay? Identify yourself and proceed.
I'm Harry Holt. I'm a taxpayer there in Center Point. I've been to every meeting with Tatum, with the school, and I've done a lot of the research and the documentation and the videos and everything that they're talking about. The concerns that the school have is not the site that they're on, it's the site across the street, okay? And it has gotten better, the dust and stuff. And they're not asking for them to leave, okay? They're just asking for compensation of what they're not getting right now. So, does everybody know the contract through the school? So they got paid $2,400 for the full year, okay? So, is that what they're offering the county? So, and my biggest concern is it gonna cost the taxpayers more money to move this site somewhere else because of the liner? They're gonna put liner into the ground. They gotta get TCEQ out there to agree to all this. And how much does that liner cost? And how much is it gonna cost to excavate it and put it in the ground? And is that gonna cost the county and myself as a taxpayer or the state of Texas more money when they already have it in place where it's at right now? And if they can fix the problem by moving it to a smaller location, why can't they fix it where they're at right now? So, and if they're worried about the dust, if you look across the street to the north, there's baseball fields for little kids. And then during the wintertime, we have the ag barn with all the stock show going on. And then to the south, we have Lions Park or Flat Rock Park.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot there going on. And then to the east, there's a neighborhood. So, that's just,
So.
and the
so-
site that they're moving to is roughly 4.4 acres. So, I did my research. So.
I looked at it, I'm trying to figure out on the new site, what portion would they use? The portion north of the arena?
The way I understand it, they're coming in the fifth gate, and it's a narrow section, and it goes into a larger section. So it's gonna be an L shape, and then they'll go back around, correct? So,
It's the east side of the arena,
Yeah. The east side.
east side,
Yeah.
yeah, where the outdoor arena is.
Yeah, narrow strip. Haven't parked my horse trailers there before.
yeah, and we all know what happens when it rains there. It's bad.
It's a muddy mess, yeah, it's clay
Yes.
base.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions for me?
No.
So the school is willing for them to stay, because they're talking that they can fix the problems that we've had. We just have concerns with what's going on across the street. with all the debris blowing and washing over, which needs to be taken care of, so. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all for y'all's time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Well, I mean, I'd kind of like to actually see an agreement before I,
Well, our
That's good,
attorneys
you know.
looked at it. Do you trust?
I have looked at it,
Doesn't
and
matter.
it's the same or
Okay.
similar
My
agreements one
Okay.
the county has entered into multiple times for use of our property since July.
And this is at zero, right?
This is at zero, yes, sir.
Right,
You mean at zero cost?
zero cost. Yeah, we're not seeking, the same thing the school did basically with the small agreement they had. They weren't trying to make, get paid dollars for it. We're not either. And so it doesn't have a dollar figure attached to that, is what she's saying.
And the only thing we haven't discussed is how long will this go on?
Any ideas on that, Ms. Ashby?
Till the girl is found?
So.
No.
Soon?
No.
No?
So our current operations, with the operations we have going on at Lake Nimitz and Lake Ingram, and I hate to give a time to it because as soon as I do, then I'm wrong. But the guess is about 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
That's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard.
Okay, and so that was kind of my understanding. And again, I hate to speak on it and be incorrect.
Sure. It's okay.
Right,
Good brief.
okay.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I'll just reiterate, one of my biggest concerns is the language in there that talks about restoring the site, the reclamation process, and, because we've got a huge project down in Center Point right now. I
And
hate to
they
see
have
the
said,
county-
And they're
well,
gonna do it.
And I
like
know
they did
they've
the site
said,
build.
but,
well, apparently they're saying that they're gonna restore it back to the way it was.
yes, sir,
That was agreement up
That's,
front.
I've not seen them
yeah. Well,
not meet up to their agreement to this point.
I'm very particular in reviewing contracts, and that's a very important clause, if you will.
That's part of the TDM's agreement with any of the entities that they've entered agreements with for use of property. They have made promises and
Kept them.
contracted for them, and they've kept their promises to put property back the way they found it.
Well,
Better.
I'm not unmindful of what Tatum paid us for use of the Youth Event Center during this entire disaster. And we have a very tidy sum that will be used in the budget that you're gonna see in a couple of weeks. But that money has been earmarked for us, and we're gonna use it.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not faulting Tatum. I mean, they have been great to this county and the way they've helped in this response. It's just, some things were not anticipated at the time that decisions were made, and specifically with the Center Point ISD property.
And to the judge's point, Tatum has been very good to fund and rent at Hill Country Youth Event Center for all the use. I would like that same use to be done for Central Point ISD. And if they don't want to continue that, then in good faith, not only reclamate the 123 acres, but what has happened to the parking lot and the track across the street. I just want that to be said, because I feel like I'm a part of that community as well. And not because my last name's Holt. But,
But,
and there is no relation, just to be clear. But because I drive through that area every time I go and volunteer at that fire department. And I'm also a part of this county too. I've been a part of this whole process, so just, Tegan has been very good to the Hill Country Youth Event Center with rents. I'm asking for some of that love to be shared because of the impact on that site, which was humongous. And they basically got $2,400. And when I look at how much Hill Country Youth Event Center got and about the amount of people that have been put through there, without getting real specific, where's the love for Center Point? There is perhaps sometimes to think about that and maybe to talk that through to future compensation, but that's how I feel. Thank you.
okay, any more discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. 3, those opposed? 2. Vote is 3-2. Motion passes. Moving on to item 1.2 on the agenda is to consider, discuss, take appropriate action regarding flood warning system agreements. And Commissioner Jones, I'm going to ask you to introduce this topic. I got in on it yesterday.
Yeah, and so there's been a lot of discussion, and it's time to get the court updated as to where we're at on all of this in regard to the flood sirens. And so Heather and the judge and I went and met with UGRA yesterday. I think we came to some good, in principle, agreements that I think that it's time to bring back before the court at this time.
Well, let me stop you right there. I'm sorry to interrupt. We already have an interlocal agreement
Correct.
with UGRA. And what the issue is, I saw it, was that in the heat of the battle, fighting this disaster, we all agreed that we were going to have sirens. We agreed we were going to do these gauges in the river system. We were going to have a dashboard system. We're going to do all of these things.
Crossing gates.
In crossing gate, all of this, the easements that go along with it.
Yes, sir.
But at the end of the day, we need to know who's going to own what and be responsible for operating and maintaining what. And so the discussion was really a clarification as to what's UGRA doing under the ILA, what are we doing under the ILA, and trying to make sure that we're all on the same page pulling forward, because we're getting close to the finish line here with these sirens and getting them in the water.
Yeah. So where we landed is that the county will end up owning the sirens and being in charge of operation and maintenance for the sirens.
M&O goes to the county.
And the same will apply for the gauges and that operation for the data-driven side that they will be providing to the county for the operation of our dashboards.
And
Wait. Clarify that. UGRA is gonna operate the gauges?
No, the gauges,
county.
they currently do anyway.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so they
That's
will.
what I thought I heard you saying.
Yeah,
the
they will
county would-
continue to do that.
Okay.
That's part of what their obligation is being
Okay.
the river authority to begin with.
I agree. I just wanted.
And so
clarity. I
they
thought I
will,
heard something different.
correct, no, so they will be the ones that will be in charge going forward of that. The county will be in charge of the sirens and the M&O, and that'll fall under Shore. You know, part of his job is to oversee that. And we will have maintenance agreements that'll take care of all of that. There was a lot of scare about the cost of maintenance agreements and that type of stuff, and we've been assured that they're looking at somewhere between $700 and up to maybe $1,000 per siren per year, which is a substantial savings from what we had been told previously. But I have talked to the manufacturer, and that's what they've assured us it would run. And that'll include them having a hands-on annual visit, touching it, making sure, changing out boards, batteries. And so we'll start getting those agreements as we have those signed over to us. And so currently what's gonna take place is that as sirens are completed, they will be signing those over to the county. And any deeded easements going forward will come to the county rather than being put in the name of UGRA, which is the way they've done it right now. Because it was all still up in the air about how this was gonna go. And I think it's in a good place. I think it's a good working relationship going forward. I anticipate everything to keep moving in a forward direction. If it's not, we'll come back to y'all and let y'all know. But currently, everything is in a great place, and I think everybody's on the same page with where we're at.
Would you please reiterate what the annual cost to maintain the 8 sirens that we purchase is likely to be?
Well, likely, we're looking at a little over 30 total for the county. Somewhere where I sat down with the maps.
Your number was for 30 then, not the 8 so far.
Basically, about 34 is where we're looking at. Some will be larger, some will be smaller. We'll be setting
Per
up
siren.
a meeting with the manufacturers so
Per
y'all
siren.
can get a
What's the
live
number? I
demo.
thought
We'll
I
get
heard
it posted as a live
700,000.
demo.
No, 700 to 1,000 per.
Oh, thank you. That's what
Okay,
I
what-
needed.
He heard 700,000. 700
Yeah.
to $1,000.
You're looking at- you're looking
So
at-
$1,000
siren.
per siren.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
looking at somewhere a
Okay,
little
that's
over
what I needed.
$30,000 annually for maintenance and operation.
Okay.
You know, and we
I
may
feel a
need
lot
to
better
look at,
now.
as we enter into those agreements, we may have to up that a small amount, depending on how those agreements come out, and y'all will all get to preview that.
Yeah.
To find out where you're comfortable at with that. But we're gonna have to consider taking a swing, because at this point, we're going to be in charge of selecting the sirens too. So that's a change, right? We were part of the selection process, and I think it was a good selection process, getting the audible sound, coming out by the camps, that type of stuff. That's all good, but in town, it could be that the mechanical sirens are better served. They project further, they've got a lot longer shelf life, they require less maintenance. And so what I've asked them to do is to set up a demo with the manufacturers and give us a presentation for the pros and cons for both mechanical and electronic. So y'all can sit down, make a decision. Some sirens might need to be smaller than others, because we're having to go by that map that y'all all helped work on. And some of those areas are pretty small, but they're in an area that's flood prone, flash flood prone, not just flood prone, but flash flood prone. We were able to take it down to around 34 we looked at, because a lot of those areas, yes, they will flood, but they're not flash floods, and there's never been any danger or loss of life. And so some of those might be better served by what you addressed at the last Commissioners Court meeting, by putting up flashing lights, that type of stuff. The TxDOT has got plenty of money when it comes to that. We just need to make the right appeal for them to start dealing with our roadways. And then we will start looking at what we need to do grant-wise towards anything we need to do on county roads to cover that. Because some of these areas where they're trying to put a siren might be that they had 2 low water crossings, and so they said we need a siren there. Well, would be better served with a flashing sight. These folks that are here, guest or not, they've all been cautioned, and we've never had any type of loss of life there on that here in many years. Not never, probably, I shouldn't say that, I'm sure it has occurred. But there's other ways to serve that a siren would be not really effective. So we are gonna have to dig a little deeper as a court and start looking at what we want as a court, and what y'all want to decide to put in place out in some of these other locations. And you will have a seat at the table, because all of that will be done with presentations and
Good.
sitting in front of you.
So,
And I put this on the agenda.
No,
Make
thank
sure-
you. It's good to understand.
Well,
learn.
because this court needs to understand where we are with it. We're getting close to the end here. And you hear a lot of confusing things sometimes. And I won't go in, I'm not going to repeat all the things that were confusing, but there were some confusions of who's going to own what. And a lot of it has to do with who received the grant money and who didn't receive the grant money, and how it goes. And so we already had this ILA in place. And so just to clarify, we had this meeting, and I got invited to the meeting. And the good news is, after, I guess, probably a good hour discussion, we didn't have any disagreement about who ought to own what, who ought to maintain what, who ought to operate what. And so the good news is we get to report back that I think we're on track with UGRA, and everything is in order to go to the next step,
Right.
which I think is important for this court to know.
And I can say it's very similar to the construct at Comfort that they've dealt with since the 1980s, as far as who does maintenance, the amount of money, and that the county funds it. And
Right.
they do try to get a lot of grant work and grant funds for additional sirens. It's almost identical. Now, sirens were a lot cheaper back then.
Oh, well,
I
and they
got
probably
it,
only
but
had
they're not
mechanical sirens.
They were all mechanical.
And they
the new
are,
ones
and
are
mechanicals are a lot less expensive too.
Correct.
But apparently they reach a further distance. And so they might be a lot more effective than what, they've got mechanical sirens, I was told, even from the Korean War, that still work,
Yeah.
back when Don was
Yeah,
out. So,
Fighting in the war?
yeah,
fighting screw worms.
so,
Yes, they do. Yeah, I mean, you can hear it all the way at the school, which is a good mile and a half away, every day when they tested at 12. So maintenance, all that sounds reasonable, and I appreciate the update.
Yeah, the maintenance scared me when we got that presentation, and they were talking about $400,000, and I'm thinking, and so in our other discussions, they were saying,
That's what
oh, well,
you're-
that's for the whole system. We're thinking, well, we're not part of that whole system. We've got our side, you've got your side. And so yesterday's meeting was a great meeting. It got us on track and established those boundaries.
Okay.
so you only talked about sirens, you didn't talk about the flashing lights or the arms or anything?
Well, those are
I mean,
not
I know
part
you
of,
talked
those are,
about it,
those
but-
are not part of
right
SB
now.
three.
Okay.
And so because they're not part of SB three, Senate Bill 3 is strictly directs us towards the sirens and a certain number of the gauges. And the UGRA's desire, I think, is to have a gauge on every corner, right? And so we don't have control of that, and if that's what they want to do, that's great, do it,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
all for it, the more data, the better.
Sure.
But that could grow into a monster for us later here,
Yeah.
is what it could do. And we would have no control of that, and so we just need to be in charge of what we're supposed to be in charge of.
That's fine. I mean, I know UGRA had some aspirations to have, I forget what they're called, they're sophisticated weather stations.
Well,
to pick
Texas
up one or
Tech,
two of
Texas Tech,
those.
Rice University, and
Yep.
UT Arlington got
They've
a
been funded to help with that.
$40-something million
Yeah.
grant towards that, and they're
That's great.
developing that today.
Yeah.
And Texas Tech University, I was told, is also, and Tara Bushnell, UGRA, also reaffirmed, they're taking into account a lot of gauges that Texas Tech's gonna be putting in.
Yeah. And one of the other things that we had some discussion, you know, again, I was on the original definition team,
Mhm.
but was to have a couple cameras out there for verification where we could actually see the water height at a couple low water crossings in particular.
Right.
So Shorey or
And-
somebody can actually
And
verify
yesterday,
what's
part
coming.
of yesterday's meeting too was effectively that we need to comply with SB3, and that has to deal with sirens.
Right.
And so we kind of changed their scope a little bit because they were doing what they do, looking more towards the gauges. And you know, I talked to Tara a while ago and just told her flat out, we want these in yesterday. And so let's try to move our momentum and shift it a little more towards the sirens.
So
and getting
here's the
that
big
accomplished.
cost then. What, the big question is, what is the cost of the other, what is it, 26 sirens that we're potentially considering? And what's the status of getting additional funding from
Well,
Water
that
Development
was
Board or anybody?
part of what drove the conversations yesterday, is that, Water Development Board put $50 million in, right? You had 30 counties that are eligible for $1 million
Yep.
apiece. Water Development Board gets $5 million to handle the grant, so that only leaves you $15 million.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason I'm trying to push really hard with them to let's get our grant request in for what we need for sirens,
Yep.
even if it's only sirens, to get that in now. Because there's no guarantee that money will be there if these other counties get ahead of us.
Yep.
Now,
So how much?
in theory, the Senate will refund that count. They'll put money back in there because they know that Kerr County has a need, but we can't be guaranteed that.
Well-
So we need to get moving today, and we are.
And again, I'm new, I'm sitting in this meeting yesterday. It came up about $6 million being earmarked for Kerr County. But we haven't filed the application to get the grant
Right.
for that amount of money.
Okay.
And so part of the discussion was, how fast, when can we get this done?
That's
We
right.
want to make sure that the Texas Water Development Board doesn't allocate that $6 million that's set aside for us
Absolutely.
to another county. And I'm happy to report, really happy to you, we walked out of that room in complete agreement. Every participating member of that meeting, we're on the same page. And so I kind of feel like one of the things that we do is make sure that you understand when we have these snags and roadblocks and where we are with them. And the truth of the matter is, we're flowing wide open to be able to get this thing done on time,
Okay.
which we're hoping to be probably early fall.
I appreciate that.
Right. And it looked like they said we'd be able to get all the approvals that we needed sometime about the end of July. With the boards, their board, us, and everything going forward. And, so I would anticipate we get the money flowing pretty quick.
Well, that's-
It-
main thing is
it
to
may
get
be
that
August.
grant application.
You're right.
Just warning you.
Yeah, you're right.
It may be.
Do we have to have all the agreements signed before we submit the grant application?
No,
Then let's do it.
no. But what you do have to have is you do have to have a certain amount of engineering done.
Sure.
And that's the reason we worked on that. And that is continued and being working in. I've got a meeting today at 3:30 with West, the lead contractor. And so they will get the same message.
Okay.
We want this done now.
Sounds good.
And let's move forward.
The only question I had for today for the group, so we can understand, I recall there was additional systems that other municipalities or camps were putting in. One of them I thought was Camp Mystic.
It's River Century is the group you're talking about.
Right,
They were granted, somebody gave them $750,000.
right.
And so they went out to different camps. They're putting in a whole different type of system that doesn't fit with our equipment. And it's a small system, Apparently it works, and they'll put up like 10 small towers around, in a camp area. But they were funded.
Okay, so regardless of the bankruptcy issue with one of the camps, that's still funded and happening?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, we haven't heard anything different?
Right, yeah, and some of them have them up and running.
Right.
They're doing that. Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that, you know, they talk, that they're federated, and that's a challenge with multiple systems.
It is. It is. So what, the approach we're having to take is we're obligated to meet up to the criteria of SB 3, and we don't care what else you have out there. We're doing what we're supposed to do.
Okay.
That way we can't, be held liable for this sometime later because their system failed. We need to know ours is up and running and functioning properly.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I think it's informational. I don't think we have any action to take. do
But
we?
there's no action really to take. We put action possibly because we didn't know.
We didn't know how the meeting was gonna
Honestly,
go.
how that meeting was gonna go yesterday. I think it went well. Do you agree?
I agree. Yes.
So, but, we can make sure we keep Heather informed to where she can answer y'all's questions if it's in between court dates. And y'all need some type of an update, be happy to do that.
It's important to get this information out before the 4th,
Right.
and I'm glad that we did that today, so thank you.
Right.
That's why we did it. That's exactly why we did it.
Public needs to know where
I was
we're
in the
at.
back
They do.
seat of a pickup truck driving home from vacation. And
They do. And the other thing, the other thing, just as a public service message is that if we had a flood tomorrow, river
It's
gauges,
good news.
anything, Shorey has the ability today and the information flowing in today to be able to push a button and set those alarm sirens off today.
Okay,
And we have redundancy built into that through our sheriff's department.
okay.
Excellent.
Getting head nods
All
back there,
good.
that's
Yeah,
always good.
absolutely,
All
absolutely,
good.
Well, but it's
Thank
always
you.
important for the people here. We've been working.
yes.
We've been trying to get this done, and we're pushing it. We're getting closer to the finish line, and my job is to drag us across it no matter what, so.
Yeah, and I apologize for not keeping y'all updated a little more, but we're waiting until we had some real solid information to get y'all,
Yeah.
that we knew was confirmed.
We thought we disagreed about more things, and we didn't disagree about them. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Y'all been doing good work, so thank you.
I guess, in addition to commending you for your efforts, Commissioner Jones, Judge Kelly, and Commissioner Harris, I know y'all have been working on it, but I want to make sure that the public understands UGRA has done a phenomenal job.
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
They got beat up about a year ago or so, and, but they were already working this stuff, and I think, we owed a debt of gratitude to
Without them,
UGRA,
we would
'cause, I
not
mean,
have met the May deadline.
Yeah.
The way that
Absolutely.
we needed to do it.
I just kind of wanted to bring that
I mean,
up.
that's-
I
they did.
appreciate,
Yeah.
UGRA tearing
They
in
basically
particular.
fronted the money is what it amounts to.
I know.
You bet.
Well, and
It's been a heck of
that's,
an effort.
I want to pat him on the back because we're all in agreement on this stuff.
Of course.
Yeah.
And grant
Great partner.
coordination requirement, is that Noel or is that UGRA? I think it's UGRA.
UGRA.
UGRA right now.
Yeah, but they're working with GrantWorks. And-
Same
and-
company.
and that- yeah, same people,
All right,
yeah.
But the money would come through Kirk County, I assume.
okay.
The money does
Yes.
come through Kerr County, and that's the reason that we
Yep, that's
took the
what started
position that
whole
we
thing.
did,
I know.
Got it.
you know.
Okay. Very
So,
good.
It's good stuff.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't believe we have anything else on the agenda,
Well, that's it.
so there being no further business before the court, we are adjourned.